Hi again. Let's see if I can do this before the refrigerator turns on and makes more noise. I have a very noisy refrigerator. This is just a little technical addendum about what's called a nun energetic or nun demonstrative. I put in an explanation to part 2F about what it is, so if you prefer to read it rather than hear me talk about it, then you can read it because it's pretty clear. Basically, the nun energetic is like this. I could say, oh, you gave this for me. Or I could say, you gave this for me? For me? The me is the energetic. In other words, it's a pronoun that's put on the end of a verb that stresses the object. You did this for me? See, that's the nun energetic. Now, this very famous scholar named Gesenius, that everybody quotes in, Bible circles, he spent a lot of time, he was a German guy, he spent a lot of time going through the scriptures very painstakingly, okay, and saying, okay, this part of Hebrew grammar is illustrated by this verse in this way, and he charted it. It was really hard work, okay, and so he wrote a book that listed all the verses showing the different kinds of Hebrew grammar and pronunciation and a whole bunch of stuff. That's why everybody likes his book so much. Now, in section 58 of his book, he talks about this nun energetic. For me, and when you look at that section, and you also look at Harper's Hebrew Elements, which the link was in the previous video, part 2F, you realize that it's just a way of using the pronoun. It's not really very different. It's the extra syllable, the n-n-n-n, that you put in that emphasizes. For me, see, we say me, but they say n-n. Okay, that's how they did the same kind of sound. That's all it is. It's an extra sound. Now, that doesn't change the rules of Hebrew grammar, which is basically that a pronoun has to agree in gender and number with the noun to which it refers. In English, we don't have that rule very much anymore. Okay, but it's really prominent in Spanish and, any of your Latin-based languages, any of your Greek-based languages. To some extent, it's true in Russian as well. I don't remember it being really true in Chinese, but there's a similar rule there. In other words, if the noun has a female ending, doesn't necessarily have to do with females. If it has a female ending, then the pronoun, in order to refer back to it, also has to have a female ending. If the female ending is plural, as in Psalm 12:6, then Psalm 12:7, if it was referring back to the female ending in Psalm 12:6, it too would have to have a female plural ending. And the nun energetic doesn't change that rule. The problem is that the nun energetic in section 58 of Gesenius and in Harper's Elements, page 165, the link is in the previous video, there is no such thing as a third person plural in the nun energetic. None. So if you were going to say for me, you could say for me, for her, for him, for it. Well, there isn't even an it. For her, for him, for me, for us. For us. It's the for us that's in Psalm 12:7. There is no third person plural with that kind of emphasis. And that's what section 58 of Gesenius says, and that's what page 165 of Harper's Hebrew Elements says. It doesn't say that you don't have to follow the gender and number rules. Ed misread all that. Okay? He just misread it. It's just like, he thinks it's because it's the nun energetic that somehow those rules don't have to be obeyed. Okay, but that very section in 58 of Gesenius says, Gesenius, I keep saying his name wrong, says that it must be obeyed because it declines. There is I, there is you, there is he and her, and there's us. And those are the only forms in which the emphasize, me, us, him, her, you, those are the only forms in which that emphasis is ever used. And when it is used, it goes by the noun, the gender of the noun, the number of the noun. And there are no third-person plurals. Okay, so Ed misread section 58 of Gesenius in order to try to make Psalm 12:7's them agree with Psalm 12:6's words. Okay, well that's flat wrong. Okay, but he was making a point that, well, it's not always necessary for it to agree in number and gender. And that part of what he said is right, but it falls under a different section and a different set of rules. Has nothing to do with the noon energetic. Nothing. Noon energetic, noon demonstrative. In Harper's Hebrew Elements is called demonstrative. Okay, that was its old name. In 1910 they changed the name to noon energetic. Okay, so forget section 58 of Gesenius. It doesn't apply. If it did apply, it would mean us in Psalm 12:7. All right?